Welcome back to Witness Stories. Quick break. How do you like my dragon shirt? Woohoo! Okay. So, I call this episode of Mediums and the Source. So, I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. About psychics. So this is taken off the internet. Not all psychics have the gift of mediumship, but all mediums have psychic abilities. Mediums use the psychic senses to perceive messages from higher dimensions, including the spirit and spiritual realms. So hold on a second. That last reference was a loose application of the term spiritual, spirit, and possibly higher dimensions. Let me clarify. Ghosts are entities, including humans, that are stuck just off the physical dimension at an energy level, a nearly formless one, where these entities perceive it themselves and you often in objective forms. It's not that situation isn't necessarily higher. It's just not visible to us. Spirits, on the other hand, are those who have crossed completely over to a spiritual level at a higher state of consciousness where they are always aware of their state as energy, even though they may choose to present themselves in a perceived form. Those dimensions may or may not have a perceivable physical aspect to them. But I was digressing, so let's get back to psychic definitions from the internet. Psychics have the talent or skill to perceive information that is beyond the normal reach of the five senses. In other words, is extrasensory perception, ESP. There's clairvoyance, seeing, clairaudience, hearing, clairsentience, sentience, feeling and sensing. For me, the most difficult is hearing. I don't seem to be able to develop that up to this point. But psychics are best known for their ability to predict future events, commonly, but their talents go far beyond prophecy. True psychics are not fortune tellers telling you what the future will bring. This is my editorial addition and opinion. That last item is a low-level activity. They are not primarily here to help you exploit life. They are here to help you improve yourself and to live a more spiritually compatible life. In theory, your life will improve, but maybe not in an exploitative way. So back to the internet. Mediums or clairvoyants are spiritually gifted people who can communicate with disincarnate entities or spirit beings. Some mediums specialize in communication with the spirits of loved ones who have passed away. This is called crossing over into the afterlife. Crossing over meaning going through the veil. A session with the medium usually involves receiving messages from the other side and evidence, often, to confirm that there is indeed life after death. Mediums are also conduits for other entities or beings such as angels, spirit guides, and ascended masters. Mediums who convey messages from such sources are called channels. So, that's missing at least a little bit of what's going on there. So my commentary is, a channel connects with a consciousness. This could be any consciousness. We call that remote connection a source. But what is literally called the source would be the shared and greater universal mind. So always consider the source. What is its level? You should verify for yourself this source is at a level you require for your objectives. I should mention here, under this understanding of things that the real truth about everything is that God is everything. God is the source. God is the source of all consciousness. What God did was divide itself down to smaller pieces of consciousness so it can experience being other. And some of those consciousnesses have a veil between itself and the all, so it would appear to have individuality. And when that happens, there's all the issues of free will, what that dimension that consciousness exists in, what are the rules of that dimension. All those things come into play from this division. But so that means that you could be connecting to sources at various levels of the veil between themselves and the full, complete, prime creator God of all, or the source. If you even want to think of it as a person, is not really the way to think of it, but it does have a consciousness, a much, much more in-depth consciousness than humans can quite understand from our point of view. So, if you, dealing with a psychic, find any ethics problems, then hey, take note. There is an ethics problem. Take that into account. I always require a level at least as good as a professional human counselor would provide. That's what I require out of any source. The collective universal mind is at the highest level of ethics I've ever known. And it is far greater than, counselors in the human world. Almost anyone, and this is going to be strange to some people, almost anyone in the world, any human, is equipped to become a medium. Some are already capable of that right out of the box, and some unavoidably so. They can't avoid it. The rest of us will have to work at it. It helps to ask. It helps to ask for help, to seek it, to practice it, to be your best self at that. All that is important. Your basic intuition and creativity is actually a light form of channeling. You're connecting to something greater than yourself. Certainly greater than your ego self. As to me, myself, doing classic channeling, I personally will have to work at it a lot more. But just as intuition is relative to the skill involved, there are many forms that access communication. Remote viewing is one form, for example. Past life regression is another. Guided meditations are another. One interest or another that will guided meditation can put you in the right space where you can get some. That's how they do past life regressions with that. One interesting type you probably are not familiar with at all that I experience, I call flints. This is seeing various forms of light patterns inside my view, in my eyesight. This facet is inside my head, my viewing plane, if you will. I have definitely prayed that form only come from my personal guides. I will always ride shotgun over that as well. But it showed up after apparently raising my vibration level from meditation practices. So now, when I'm thinking, especially when my eyes are closed, the flints will appear as if to comment on my thoughts. I have assigned different colors as different meanings or levels. I consider this response to be direct from my closest guides, as I say. These flints for me never seem to come when I prompt for it, when I'm consciously looking for it. Mostly they happen when I don't expect it, and not in a spot that I'm expecting it either. Generally speaking, when you're looking for something, you're imposing your ego upon it, and that will change the meaning perhaps, so I don't think they like to comment when I'm doing that. But I'm not thinking about that. I'm actually thinking about a subject as when they may pop up. For example, I was thinking one night that my guide just thinks to create the color spot intended, and it happens, and that it's a learned skill. And in response to that thought, I got a cobalt blue little fuzzy dot, and that color means good or okay to me. But I wasn't sure, and also means to me a higher level spiritual event or higher level spiritual meaning. But I wasn't sure if it addressed the think, the learned points, or both. So anyway, for me currently, green means change, red means bad or no, yellow means consider it or examine it critically, and white is a highly important issue or God flash. And I've gotten other forms of those things, not just dots. Sometimes I'll see bubbles, and sometimes my whole viewing plane will flash bright white, and I consider that a true God flash. If you can get these flints activated for yourself, you will have to experiment to get your own translation and level of trust in the conversation. You need to trust them. They need to trust you. What will they tell you? They're not going to tell you anything bad for yourself or others, and if you do bad with that, they won't tell you anything. For me, up to now, it isn't for predictions or directives, just commentary, acknowledgement, and for my education so far. So when considering real truth, you must consider that a good source will, whether it's flints or a medium hearing things, or other forms like you get feelings, you smell things, knowledge just comes to you. And when you do have knowledge come to you, you usually have a feeling of what that source is. And so with all these sources, you need to take into account the knowledge base of the channel, the person perceiving this communication, as well as who the client is, if there is one, that the information is intended for. If you're if you're receiving this source of information and you are the client of that, then that's what it is in consideration of. In other words, if the client belongs, by way of example, if the client belongs to one particular faith, the information will be cast in terms as close to that as possible to that faith, while avoiding a misdirection. After translating into a common conceptual basis, in other words, we say it's accessing your personal dictionary, the information sets are generally confirming, or anyway, they'll be put in the basis of the faith type that you're working with. And this tends to be true across all cultures and worldviews. Prophets, clairvoyance exist in all religions. They just don't necessarily have rules within those religions of what you accept. And sometimes they can be quite rigid and judgmental about the people with this. That is a problem in some cultures. Once in a while, the answer will conflict with a worldview, and in these cases, some educational corrections will be added to the information. So, in the context of a religion, it may be important for that cultural context to grow a bit. And let me tell you, culturally speaking, there's a lot of resistance to that. It's a human problem. But it's very necessary at times. That does hackle people who have fixed ideas of reality, but generally, a source respectfully only answers questions that are actually put forward. So they don't give you information unless you're up for it, and the way you prove you're up for it is by asking a relevant question. Generally, sometimes that rule is necessary to not be limiting factor, but that's generally speaking what they do. This inherently avoids most conflicts of understanding, but also conflicts with what that person is safe to know, is safe to grow into, and follows their life plan. It is one of the rules that a person is usually not ready for an answer until the related question is asked, in other words. So I try to be bold and fearless on my own behalf, asking as many questions as I can get away with. But I want to learn all that I can. That's my frame of reference. That's just me. And I'm willing to learn anything about what is really true in there. Part of the reason I ended up in this space where I think I have an understanding of what's going on. But word to the wise. I am talking to you here at the Spiritual Energy Workshop 101 level. Those levels go up to infinity. So you, me, anybody listen to this, we all have stuff to learn. Keep that in mind.